How's it going, guys, and welcome once again to the Foot and Fist Sports Network. Today we're going to be talking about this past UFC card that was held in Salt Lake City, which was headlined by Yair Rodriguez and Bruce Leroy Alex Caceres. Now, the UFC has been very active over the past month, and there's been so much going on that it's really hard to keep track of who's where and who's done what, really. So get out your power armor, friends. It's time for Fight Fallout. Let's start off with Yair Rodriguez. This big win puts El Pantera even closer to the title mix. His next opponent really should be in the top 10, and there are two particular options that jump to mind: Bermudez and Cub Swanson. All three men fought on the same night and each won their respective fights. Now, Swanson's brawler style is more of a favorable matchup for Rodriguez because both guys are very crazy strikers and they would put on an immensely great show. However, Bermudez is also a very, very good fighter. However, his wrestling is a bit of a problem for Yair because we haven't really seen him put up against somebody like that. Now, what the UFC might do with Rodriguez is sort of what they did with Conor McGregor, which is basically put him against guys that he can definitely beat. So always put him against strikers and avoid putting him against a wrestler for as long as he can. Now, either matchup here would do well. It's just a matter of, do you want to take a bigger risk of him having to get wrestle-fucked by Bermudez, or do you want to put him against Swanson, who is probably a better fighter than Bermudez, but is a more favorable matchup because he's going to be more interested in just standing up with Pantera and showing that he can stand with him. So either way, the fans do win, but it is a big risk for the UFC to take. Next up, we have Alex Caceres. Now, this was a very tough loss for Bruce Leroy, who is no longer in the top 15, or at least I don't think he was even in the top 15 before, but he was at least right there. He also has a 12-9 record, so he's really, really in the shit can right now because this is the type of record that the UFC only keeps you around if you put on entertaining fights, and he only usually wins decisions, or a lot of times, sometimes he gets finished, but he usually does lose by decision too. So if he does sort of start to slip off, we could see a John Fitch effect where he gets cut immediately as soon as he isn't worth it to the UFC anymore. Now, an interesting matchup for Bruce Leroy would definitely be Tatsuya Kawajiri. Kawajiri also lost that night to Cub Swanson, and so that makes it to where the timing fits, and both fighters definitely need a win. Now, this could definitely be a make-or-break fight for both Caceres and Kawajiri. Now, we're going to talk about Dennis "The Menace" Bermudez, who has continued to keep himself around the top 5. As I mentioned earlier, the Menace should fight either Yair Rodriguez or Cub Swanson next. If the UFC books those two men together, then a rematch with Jeremy Stephens would make very good sense because the two of them had a great fight. It was a 3-round war that ended up with Jeremy Stephens putting him to sleep, and just overall it was a very good fight, and it would be a very, very interesting one to see a rematch of because the winner would definitely take a big jump forward in the title picture. And the 145-pound division does have quite a few contenders, but they could definitely do with some extra ones who bring a little bit of, just knockout power to the table. So next up, we have Thales Leites, who has been on a good run lately. I think that's his second or third win in a row, and does deserve a highly ranked opponent. The only person that really makes sense, to my opinion, is Robert Whittaker. The Aussie is very well known for his knockout power, and he does need a big name win like Thales Leites would be. However, if Leites were to beat Robert Whittaker, then he would have a very legit win over a top young prospect, and that would be a very, very big win for him in order for him to get back into the mix and maybe even eventually get back into a title shot, which is unlikely, but you never know. This middleweight division is very stacked, and these two guys just show how stacked it really is. Next up, we have the Ukrainian Marina Moroz, who looks set for another top 5 opponent. She has a very big win over Joanne Calderwood, but most of the division at this point is booked. Now, one fighter that isn't booked right now is Rose Namajunas, who is coming off of a tough loss. With the way that these women's divisions are working out, and in particular the strawweight division where Joanna has been so dominant and has taken out quite a few contenders at this point, anybody could really get into title contention and even get a title shot with just one big win. And that's exactly what could happen with Marina Moroz if she somehow does get past someone like Rose Namajunas. Last but not least, we have the welterweight prospect Santiago Ponzinibbio, who is definitely among the best young welterweights. There aren't a lot of open options at welterweight. Most guys have fights or have recently fought. However, one guy who definitely could be an interesting option for him is Matt Brown. Brown is on a bad skid as of late, and he's fought most of the people around him in the rankings, and he definitely could use a sort of a jump down, all due respect to Ponzinibbio, but a jump down in quality opponent. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button down below. Let me know who you guys think Yair Rodriguez should take on next. Is he ready for the top 5 opponents, or should he be sticking around the top 8, top 7, somewhere around there? Thanks once again for watching, guys. I will see you next time.